My name is RG, and ever since the start of Chapter 2, skill-based matchmaking has been the enemy for a significant portion of the Fortnite player base, with it making their lobbies far harder than they were used to, leading to every single match becoming a sweat fest. Hashtag remove skill-based matchmaking has trended on social media countless times, which has largely been met by deaf ears, and with the start of the season, it was looking like skill-based matchmaking would remain in the game. However, ever since the first couple weeks of the season, I've noticed a drastic change in the matchmaking. Instead of coming across only decent players, I was now seeing a massive range in abilities, from really good players to really bad players. And unlike before, I was now starting to see bots, something that never happened before. This has led me to believe that Fortnite may have removed skill-based matchmaking, or at the very least, reduced how strict it is. So in today's video, I'll be checking out the stats of the players I come across, as this will give me some insight into whether skill-based matchmaking is still in the game. So, let's jump straight into the gameplay. Now, if skill-based matchmaking is still in the game, you'd think that Epic would put players with similar stats in my lobbies. So for reference, these are my stats: 9,148 matches, 1.57 KD, and 694 wins. So in terms of wins, that puts me in the top 1.2% of players. Despite this, the first two players I come across are bots. For this video, my main objective was to run into as many players as possible. That way, I'd be able to check a lot of players' stats. I wasn't too fussed about getting wins, meaning that I'd charge at every single player that I saw. In game 1, I run into my first real player, who doesn't put up much of a fight, which is unsurprising considering he's played less than 200 games, with just the one win. The next player I fight definitely gives me some more trouble, as he gets me desperately weak. He was more experienced than the last player, but still, with the game about 3 years old now, 9 wins really isn't a lot. In my next 2 fights, Epic decides to throw some more bots in my direction, until I'm left 1v1 against the final player, but unfortunately, I'm completely out of materials, and I'm unable to get the win.
What can I do?
In game 2, I come across a player opening a care drop. He tries to get away from me, but makes the fatal error of getting in his car. Although that's not a surprise, considering he's played less than 150 games. I don't see another player until there are only 12 players left, although to be honest, this player doesn't do any better than the bots, as he didn't even build to protect himself, which isn't too surprising, considering he's got a 0.56 KD. Again, if skill-based matchmaking is in the game, then why is he in my lobby? Shortly after, I do finally run into a decent player, who is at a similar level to me, and after build fighting for quite a while, I end up running out of materials, leading to quite an embarrassing moment.
Fuck's sake.
Fortnite Tracker was really helpful for producing this video. However, there were some players that wouldn't show up when you search the name. And I think that's because you can set your profile to private in-game, which means that people can't see your stats. I found it quite fun to predict a player's stats after killing them, but it was surprisingly difficult. In fact, looking up the stats of my opponents was quite an eye-opener. Sometimes I'd die to a player who seems like they're really good, but then I'd actually see the stats and they wouldn't be anything special. With this player being a perfect example of this.
No way, you're weak as fuck.
Ever since Epic added skill-based matchmaking to Fortnite, they've given us minimal communication regarding how it actually works. Naturally, this has led to a lot of speculation from the Fortnite player base, with some players believing that your lobbies are determined by how many wins you've got, your KD, or even how many games you've played. But the reality is that we've no idea what Epic uses to decide the skill-based matchmaking. Using wins to decide it is one of the most popular theories, as you'd naturally think that better players would have more wins. But But there are some real issues with using wins to determine a player's skill, as a player can have lots of wins simply because they played a lot, and they might have actually been carried to those wins. Although if skill-based matchmaking is still in the game, then surely it can't be determined by wins, as my almost 700 wins puts me in the top 1.2%. Yet I was often coming across players with less than 50 wins, which doesn't make sense.
There's no way. There's no way. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. Oh my god. He's dog shit.
So if skill-based matchmaking is still in the game, is it determined by kill death? Well, maybe. During these games, I tended to come across players with a KD between 1 and 2. But despite this, there was a huge range of skill levels in my lobbies. And I think a big reason for that is that ever since skill-based matchmaking was added in Chapter 2, it's completely warped the KD of the player base. This is mainly due to less skilled players now getting easier lobbies, as they get put against other less skilled players, as well as bots, which has boosted the stats, whereas more skilled players would get tougher lobbies with fewer bots, which naturally would lower the KD and make it harder to get wins. So it isn't unrealistic to say that since Chapter 2 there could be a massive difference between two players in terms of skill, but they could have the same amount of wins and the same KD, simply because they get completely different lobbies.
What the fuck is that?
Last season, Epic decided to remove skill-based matchmaking from squads. Before, my lobbies would be insanely sweaty, and if you were playing with decent players, you would near enough only come across good players. However, when they removed skill-based matchmaking from squads, Epic added a lot of bots to make it easier for less skilled players. What this meant is that in each lobby there would be a mix of good players, bad players, and bots. And honestly, I'm starting to think that Epic has done the same to solos and duos as well. I mean, just recently, Cypher PK was able to give a player his first win. That shouldn't be possible if skill-based matchmaking is still in the game, considering he's won thousands of games. I'll show you a clip of it on the screen now.
Take the grenade launcher. I don't know why this poor guy's in my match. All right, man. You can have it. You can have it, bro. It's been a long time since I've ran into an actual default skin. We just had to do the right thing. I'm gonna check his stats just to be sure that he was an actual default. One win, one solo win. We just gave somebody their first win. That's actually kind of nuts because that doesn't happen.
One of the biggest questions I've had since I saw a change in the matchmaking was how it would have impacted crossplay. Before, you would see players on different platforms in the same lobbies, so it didn't matter if you were on PC, console or mobile. There was a chance that you could be put into the same lobby. But if skill-based matchmaking has actually been removed, does that mean that it's gone back to platform-specific lobbies? You would expect it to be the case, but when using Fortnite Tracker, I wasn't able to verify this. In the past, you would be able to see what platform someone plays on, as it would be shown clearly on the site. But since Chapter 2, Fortnite Tracker hasn't worked as well. Now, if you go onto someone's profile, it won't always accurately show what platform someone plays on. Like for example, if you look at my profile, it says in Season 9, I played on Xbox, which is true. Then in Season 10, I played on PC, which again, is true. But then in Season 11, it says I played on Xbox, which isn't true. And then in Season 12 and 13, it says that I played on keyboard and mouse, which isn't even a platform. So Fortnite Tracker really isn't too helpful when it comes to finding out what platform someone plays on. Although something that I have noticed is that some profiles you've searched will say PSN in front of the name, which if true, means that crossplay is still in the game, even if skill-based matchmaking isn't.
No, I'm shit. How have I lost?
For the purpose of this video, I played 20 games and recorded all of the stats, but I'll only be showing 10 on screen. And as I've reached the 10th and final game, I think it's a good time to take a look at the stats so we can decide whether skill-based matchmaking is still in the game. So, over the course of the 20 games, the average player had played 4,480 matches, 119 wins, as well as a KD of 1.25. And honestly, these figures are higher than I expected. However, is this evidence to show that skill-based matchmaking is still in the game? Or is it just the natural progression of the Fortnite player base, especially with the game being out 3 years now? It's difficult to say whether these figures suggest skill-based matchmaking has been removed. However, it's clear that if skill-based matchmaking is still in the game, then it's definitely not strict. If you compare my stats with the average player I faced, I had around 6 times as many wins, double the amount of games played, as well as a higher KD. And the fact that there were quite a few players in my lobbies with a KD of under 1, as well as new players with under 200 games played, it suggests to me that skill-based matchmaking has been removed, because how would I be facing these players if it is still in the game? Based on my experience this season, including these 20 games, I do believe that Epic has removed skill-based matchmaking and added lots of bots to each lobby to help bad players. I mean, before, I would never come across them, but in these 20 games, I killed 16 of them. Although despite skill-based matchmaking potentially being removed, I do suspect that the lobbies remain cross-platform, with console players still occasionally being thrown into lobbies with PC players. But this is just based on my experience, so I'm not 100%. So what we really need now is some clarification from Epic about skill-based matchmaking, as currently all we have is speculation from the community. Has skill-based matchmaking been removed or adjusted? Is it working as intended? Or is it just not very good? Epic, just let us know.
Oh my god.
So, what do you think? Do you believe that skill-based matchmaking is still in the game? And would you be willing to track the stats of the players that you come across, like I did? If so, feel free to post the results in my comments, as I would love to know if you had a similar experience. Also, if you want to support me as a content creator, then feel free to use my creator code, which is on the screen now. So anytime you buy something in the item shop and use my code, it will go directly towards supporting the channel, which would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.